Hello, Geek Speak. Welcome back to part two. To part two of our series, Cloning and Ethics of Jurassic Park. Last episode, we looked at my theories about whether or not we could clone a dinosaur. Now today, we look at whether or not we should clone dinosaurs. And joining me today is a very special guest. Please welcome Laura Dern.
Hello, I'm not quite sure why I am here.
Laura Dern, you're looking younger in person.
And brunette.
Yes. I mean, well, I'm Sam Neill, and as you can see, I did not put on any sunscreen. Alright, so today's question is whether or not we should clone dinosaurs. In which case, we can look at it from a scientific point of view, an economic point of view, an environmentalist point of view, or any sort of point of view. So, that's the question. Do you want to answer? You want to try to get it stab at it first?
It's a bad idea because I don't want to get eaten by a T-Rex. End of discussion, end of conclusion. Don't die by dinosaurs.
See, I say we should try to clone a dinosaur.
He wants to die, apparently.
No, I don't. So, okay, her argument is about the T-Rex killing everyone.
Just anyone. Any dinosaur killing someone.
Okay, but here's one thing. At least if you were to clone a T-Rex, you would just clone a male. A male T-Rex. Male T-Rexes were shorter than the females, and they were more solitary animals. There's still a debate about whether or not T-Rexes were one of those species that mated and bonded for life. But opposed to a female which not only is bigger, but if they had children, they hunted in packs. They worked as a coordinated team. You just clone a male T-Rex, then essentially you just get just one solitary animal. That would be for the T-Rex answer. But two, as I said in the previous video, we would only be able to resurrect only a few dinosaurs. Instead of the carnivorous dinosaurs, duck-bills were more or less like the deer of the Cretaceous period.
Yes, no, I've told you before. And I want a duck-billed dinosaur as a pet, but one that's like 8 pounds.
So, okay.
Not a full one that's gonna smash me into a million pieces.
Because if I remember correctly...
I want this, not this.
So you would want it as small as this?
I said 8 pounds.
I think you would want it a little bit bigger and to be like almost as the size like of a cat.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I mean, my dog is 8 pounds.
Okay, that works perfectly.
My cat's gonna be 20, but that's another story.
Fun fact, in the first novel there was mention about either InGen or Biosyn, the rival company, making miniature dinosaurs to be like house pets.
Yeah, do you guys remember Spy Kids 2?
Yes, it was 2.
I want a dinosaur like those little weird creatures in Spy Kids 2.
But those was that big. That's like...
Still, they're not gonna kill me.
They were miniature, and you were pretty much going to kill them if you accidentally stepped on them.
I could do that with my dog. I'm not planning on it.
And then that would make you a worse murderer than Dio Brando. But back to the main point at hand. The reason why I say we should clone dinosaurs is because of cloning and also the work that went into the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park required genetic engineering. If we worked hard at cloning and genetic engineering, we would be able to not only bring back dinosaurs, but we could combat the ongoing rate of extinction happening to modern day animals. But cloning could be the ultimate way of combating the ultimate threat in life in general, extinction.
Yes, but if we clone dinosaurs, that could start the concept of cloning altogether, as you said, but that could go way too far.
Yes, which is why I would say, unlike how they did it in Jurassic Park, John Hammond, even though he was a nice guy, he did not fully grasp the technology he was using, nor did he have a great understanding of what his dinosaurs needed or were capable of. As I stated before, if we were to clone dinosaurs, we would need to do it in a controlled environment, like as a scientific research way.
Yeah,
see how they would work in like different environments, how they would integrate with different plants, different animals, how they would interact within a food chain.
Zoo dinosaurs.
Not until we get a full understanding of what they can do. Because obviously dinosaurs were animals.
Yeah, but that's what they were doing in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And everyone still almost died.
Well, okay. In the first movie, they died because they didn't have one technological power. Thank you, Wayne Knight. And also, they didn't have an understanding of the dinosaur itself. If you look at it in Jurassic World,
the dinosaur still got out and almost killed everyone.
That was because they recklessly created a dinosaur from scratch and didn't understand it, rather than just play it safe and just say, you know what, let's just make more T-Rexes or more. Can you just wait a second?
Yes.
Or just make more natural dinosaurs. Jurassic World ran for at least a good 10 to 12 years. So they had an understanding of how their dinosaurs acted. The reason why they went too far was when they decided to make a dinosaur from scratch. One that was not based on the fossil records, and they didn't really give it much of a good understanding of what its world was around it.
The problem is, though, if you start cloning dinosaurs, there's always the stupid person who does something like that to create a problem. If you never clone them, the stupid person can't do anything to begin with. And then there's the other person who wants to take things too far, and if we start cloning dinosaurs, one day we'll be cloning humans and the whole world will fall apart.
Interesting thing, because I did have a section called The Clone Wars. Not what we Star Wars fans like, but although I wouldn't be... But the Clone Wars in the Jurassic Park sense would be if one company is successfully cloned dinosaurs or cloned other creatures, or maybe did some genetic splicing and created something like, unicorns, then perhaps
Only the sheep is enough for me.
Dolly was nice, but we need to go beyond her. In which case, that would be one thing would be how would genetic engineering and cloning go so far? In which case, in Jurassic Park, at least in the novels, we see that between InGen, the people who were the first to clone dinosaurs to create Jurassic Park, and Biosyn Engineering, who was a rival company. For those of you who don't know, Dennis Nedry, the character played by Wayne Knight, the main human antagonist in the first movie, was hired by Biosyn to steal dinosaur embryos in order to get them in the dinosaur making business. He failed and was eaten by a Dilophosaurus.
Exactly, that's the problem.
Okay, that was because he was an employee with financial problems that should have done more financial stuff in school. That was not real.
What, so everyone who does bad in school is going to get eaten by a dinosaur?
No. No. People who are not... When you interview your employees...
Our society will be smarter.
When you interview your employees, make sure they don't have any financial problems. Make
Isn't
sure...
that most of the world nowadays?
Okay, we might have financial problems, but I don't think we're going to sabotage the place we work just to get extra money. No, I wouldn't do that. But again, that was in the novels and in the films. In which case, like I said, if we take it from a scientific approach first before a capitalistic approach, maybe we'd have an understanding about how the process of cloning and genetic engineering would work toe and toe. If we are able to figure out how that works, then we can figure out how would cloning organs work, how would cloning plants work. Do we apply, how would stuff like growth acceleration would apply to plants and animals? In which case, I did have a sub-thought about human cloning, in which case...
Uh-oh.
Why are you assuming it's an uh-oh?
Things usually are.
Is it in general when it comes to cloning humans, or or is everything that I do or say is an uh-oh?
Both. And it depends on what form of cloning humans you're talking about. Are we talking about cloning like movie magic? Yay, there's me standing right there. Or they have to clone and be born and grow up, but you're going to grow into the same exact thing that's standing right there.
So, the first method that you described is basically growth acceleration.
That's what we're doing nowadays. That's what Dolly the sheep was.
Yes. So, for those of us who's a fan of Star Wars and for Jurassic Park, growth acceleration was applied to both the clone army and the dinosaurs in order to get them into a mature setting without having to have time to raise them. So, a fun fact, every dinosaur you see in the first Jurassic Park movie, they're 4 years old. So the T-Rex that we see, Rexy is what she's called.
Yeah.
She's the size of a 28-year-old T-Rex, but she's 4. So maybe the dinosaurs.
Well, that's gross. We haven't made it that far yet.
Yeah.
Dolly the sheep grew at a normal pace.
Yeah.
She
Well.
was just exactly the same as the sheep before her.
So I'd say for the dinosaurs, that's like probably a third, not a third, but 3/4 of growth acceleration. While for the clone troopers, it was like a half of a lifetime.
Creepy.
Well, yeah. So basically, every time you see the Clone Wars or you see a clone trooper die on screen, that's a 10-year-old dying. Again, propaganda.
So it's similar to Supernatural. You have no clue what I'm talking about. Lucifer's son is only 2 years old, and he looks like he's like 16. And he acts like he's 16, and he pretty much is anywhere between 16 and 20.
So that would be the Superboy scenario in Young Justice. But back to the case at hand. So I would say one of the things I would say for cloning is that, say that you have a couple that wants to have children, but one of them cannot have children, but they want biological children. They would take the clone. They would make a clone of the parent that can reproduce.
That's just creepy.
Can you just wait a second? They could. This is what I was thinking about in 7th grade, okay?
Okay, 7th grade, that makes sense, because that's not a child, that's a replica of yourself.
Okay, either myself or my spouse, but can you just wait a second?
Yes.
But,
let's hear him out.
Like, again, this was in 7th grade. I am not a scientist. I'm a political scientist, but I'm not a biologist. But, like, you could take a genetic sample of the parent that's healthy. If they want to tamper with the DNA, maybe they wanted a girl, then they could do that. In which case, through either the same methods that a test tube baby is born, maybe that could be one way that you can get a clone. Well, you can get a child just through the art of cloning. In which case, it could also be an insurance policy for in the events, God forbids, maybe the child comes to an unfortunate end. If you have a genetic sample of the child stored, you just clone them, maybe take it to the age that you want that they were when they died, or you can just start from scratch.
I've always thought of that in this terms. If we're doing real cloning talk here, is a clone, I want to know your opinion on this, like the same exact person, or is that like having an identical twin? Because isn't it the same gene? Like, I have identical twin sisters, but they're not the same person whatsoever. So would a clone be like magically making a twin?
So,
an identical twin.
Okay, so to base this off, I'm gonna be using Star Wars and Jurassic Park. It would be identical, but it wouldn't have the same personalities. So one of the things that they...
Like, there's nurture versus nature.
Yes. So, like, one of the things that they hamper out in the Clone Wars TV series is how, even though all the clones have the same face and the same height and everything, each clone trooper has a different personality. You have some that are more independent thinkers. You have some that follow the rules. You have some that are unorthodox in their ways of, conducting combat. In which case, even though they have the same face, each one of them has a different personality. Ironically, you learn that lesson in the very first episode of the Clone Wars called Ambush.
So in the end, we should not clone dinosaurs because I would like to be alive.
I still say clone dinosaurs because just for scientific purposes. And also, come on. Who wouldn't want to just have like a little duck-billed dinosaur just as a pet?
Maybe an 8-pound one.
I don't think it's gonna be that bad All we need to do, like, dinosaurs are migrating animals, but as they did in Jurassic Park, if you just find a big enough island and just make it a secluded area, then they can live more happily fulfilling lives.
Well, if I'm not eaten by a dinosaur, I will see you in the future!